straightforward and honest with their neighbours. This is our house. There's a division between Corrie House and ourselves, which is quite a large rock bund, which is part of the ancient rock that runs from Iona across to northern England. The new owners of Corrie House, Mr. and Mrs. Adamson, have turned it into a bed and breakfast. In fact, have now had to apply for it to be a guest house, and they got planning permission for that. They decided to destroy the original double garage, which was quite small, and they proposed a new double garage and a games room for all their guests at the guest house. As we'll see here, there was 10 point something meters between the boundary and the back of the building, and there was 6 meters between the end of the building and their own boundary. So we had no problem in saying, yeah, go ahead, that's fine. We had to go to planning and say, would you mind sending us neighbour notification, please, because they hadn't bothered. But other than that, we signed it up and said, yeah, that's fine. So we were somewhat concerned when they started work, and the back of the building seemed to be awfully near the boundary. Now, the boundary of Corrie House had just been established with a land registry in Edinburgh, and the outside of this red line is the registered boundary. It had been done within 12 months of them buying the house, so it should have been very, very familiar with them. But they seemed to use this, and we stupidly, without double and treble checking, just trusting them, assumed that was correct because we knew the boundaries had just been established, probably some of the most recent boundaries in the whole of Argyll. So we didn't check it, we didn't question it. But in actual fact, they used about 300 square metres of our property. As you will see, the building is a hell of a lot closer to the boundary than that plan showed. That's where they put the boundary, that's where it existed. This is the old garage. It was quite small for 2 vehicles. You'll see the amount of space behind that was perfectly flat on which they could build. So we're somewhat taken aback when JCBs and rock breakers appeared, and they started digging roughly about 500 tons of ancient rock out of the garden. This had never ever been shown on any of the plans that we had seen. This was the plan that had been submitted. There was nothing about cutting into the rocks here. There was nothing about building walls round the side. And then not only that, but they then put in a huge concrete slab, which was fully serviced with water and electrics, and there was drainage, etc. These steel RSGs were concreted in. They're about 3 meters, 9 feet odd high. And there was nothing. And we thought, well, you know, we've said, okay, fine, we have no objections. We've obviously misunderstood. We can't go back now. But in fact, they had no planning permission to do this at all. They had no planning permission to go ahead. In fact, what makes it worse to us is that they knew they needed planning permission. They'd have put in rough plans, but they stuck 2 fingers up at the planning department. Incidentally, you'll see they raised it as well here, which is becoming apparent. So here we are. Eventually they were made to submit a new drawing which showed that they had moved the slab from where they indicated earlier. That is about 4.5, 5 meters from our boundary. That is 2.5 meters, say, instead of the 6 meters which they implied earlier. That building is quite big in that small space. This is what we believe the building will look like. It is a scale model and is set into the terrain behind. In fact, as I speak, they have started building it, and the frame, the oak frame, has gone up, or is going up, and it actually looks bigger than this. The floor plan, the footprint of this building, is bigger than Corrie House itself. This is the 3rd version of the building. Initially it was going to be the playroom, games room for guests at the B&B, with 2 doors for the double garage, obviously. Then it was to be a greenhouse, presumably a Victorian type greenhouse with a garage with double doors. The third incarnation is this cook school for up to 8 cooks, apparently. And the double doors for the double garage have been reduced down to 1. This is of concern because Mr. Adamson is a joiner to trade. He's already rebuilt Corrie House from the inside out, so there's no more work required there. And we are concerned that it may be that he intends putting machinery into what was the double garage. We have expressed our concerns to planning that having a friend with a commercial joiner shop, it can be very, very noisy, requiring ear defenders when the machines are running. Having put this to planning, they have granted permission for the workshop. Thank you, planning. What we are concerned about is this is tarmac, but only down to here. This is a rough road down to the village, a path. It's not a road. Now this is used by ourselves and our dogs and grandchildren, and our neighbours use it for the same purposes, guests, visitors, holiday makers. It's a way down to the village. And as you can see, it's a residential area. It should be quiet and peaceful for the people that have decided to actually come and stay here. However, the cook school seemingly is getting permission for about 8 cooks, so presumably similar sort of number of cars. The Adamsons themselves own the Range Rover Sports. They have a tractor shovel thing for this bit of garden, which I believe was Mrs. Adamson's 60th birthday present. They bought a new 4-wheel trailer, which is parked inside. And then there's a Tonka toy which whizzes about at great speed and makes a lot of noise. Over and above that, they have 3 cars for spaces for guests, and all these other cars are even parked nose to tail like this. There's no room for anybody to get in and out. What we're afraid of is that this will be how it ends up. For all the promises in the world that all these cars are going to get put in here and they're going to make another 2 spaces here, apparently, this is how it's going to end up without any doubt whatsoever. This is the wee car that belongs to the lady that does for them 3 or 4 times a week. She never parks it inside, or virtually never parks it inside, in case it interferes with his own vehicles. So if one car can be a menace, think about all the rest.